thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Certainly appreciate it. Again, thank you, Ashton, Texas Theater. As always, I believe this is our 14th workshop we've done I know, it's a lot, right?
Wow.
Well, everything's been on strike, so we haven't had anything else to do except talk for the year that I've been here. But thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you to our guests tonight as well. I did want to let everybody know that on April 3rd, we're having a big networking event at the Virgin Hotel that is free and open to the public. So for this Eventbrite, if you go back to Eventbrite, you'll see a new link you can click on to RSVP for that. So anybody that you know in the industry, feels free to share that information with. So many people have reached out and they said, I just moved here from LA. I just moved here from, this place. How do I meet people? And I was like, well, I guess maybe we should do one big thing to introduce everybody to each other. So that is on April 3rd. So everybody feel free to come out to that and share that information as well. And so to get started here, I'm just going to let everyone introduce themselves and give a little background, and then we'll just kind of get going. Great. So you guys all know who I am, and I'm going to pass it on and get started right here.
Great. I'm Linda McAlister Talent, and this will be our 30th year in business as of November. Very proud of that. Very proud. My dad actually owned a chain of drive-in theaters, indoor theaters, so I always thought I'd be a producer, but here I am, so you never know where life will take you, but I love this. And my oldest daughter became an actress, and that's how I got started. So, and Mary Collins was my idol from day one. I loved her always. Even though she's younger than I am.
I just got it started earlier. Tony, thank you. This is fantastic. And I love being in person. Thank God this isn't on Zoom. Yeah, I'm zoomed out. Google Meet it out. I'm Mary Collins Agency. I just celebrated on Tuesday of last week our 40th anniversary. Wow. So staying power is important in this business, as you can tell. I started in advertising and marketing, worked for an ad agency. They put me in charge of casting, and I had worked with LA, New York agents for years. And one day they came in and they said, we need to cast this locally. And I said, what does that mean? And I had no idea. I really didn't know if there's agents in Dallas. And indeed there were, and there still are. So that's how I flipped the side of the business. And I think the perspective from my background, having hired actors and done casting and production, has been invaluable. And it's been a tremendous ride, and the industry changes every minute, and you have to adapt to succeed. And it's really fun to adapt and figure out the next way to do it better. So we're delighted to be here and impart anything we can to help any of you. As we say, follow your dream.
Absolutely.
Hello, my name is Teresa Natera, and my agency is Core Talent. I'm the baby of the group. We just celebrated our 20 years last year. Thank you. But yeah, thank you so much for coming out. I think it's so important to get to see each other in person, and I always say how important it is to get out and network and build those relationships, and that's really how your opportunities grow. Mm-hmm. And making those connections always leads to either friendships or a job,
bookings,
and yeah, so I'm really glad to be here with these ladies. Okay, Tony.
Awesome. Well, 20, 30, 40 years. That's impressive in general. So as we get started, I want to know...
These are not beers, they're just waters.
Even if they are, we should bring beers,
wink,
or at
wink.
least martinis or something up here, right?
Right? Liquid death. What does that tell you?
So as we get started, I'm assuming that a lot of people in the audience are actors, considering that this is a talent agent workshop. Everybody raise your hand that is actor or working to be an actor.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so quite a few. And then those that are not actors, filmmakers, directors. Right. So everybody, a little bit of everything, film industry wise. Anybody not in the film industry who's just curious and just wanted to come hang out, you're more than welcome to be here as well. Well, thank you for coming. We appreciate it. So, next week we've got a casting director workshop. Right. And I think a lot of times there's a confusion between talent agents and casting directors. People assume they both do the same thing. Right. And so it might seem like a really simple question, but we're going to start with simple anyways. What exactly do you do as a talent agent? And we will start with you since you've got the microphone.
Okay, sure. So as a talent agent, we are kind of the middleman between the talent and who I will call a client, which is whether it's casting director, production company, photographers, etc. They are the people who have the projects they're working on, and they need to know that they have qualified actor options. And so our job for the actor relationship is to screen out potential talent to see if they're experienced and skilled in these certain areas, make sure they have all their marketing materials in order, and that they are ready to go. They are ready to audition and able to be a viable option for these clients. And then on the other side of it, we have a responsibility to them to our actors, I should say, to make sure to maintain those relationships, offer quality options for the projects that they're working on, that they know that the people that we have are just kind of have that business sense, that experience and everything, and can get on set and know what to do. And so we just kind of are passing information along here and there, looking at contracts and things, making sure that the actor is protected. And that's kind of our basic day-to-day. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I might take it a step further. In my instance, we refer to our actors as our clients because they're the ones who hire us and pay us. So that's a little bit different. The casting directors don't get paid by actors. They get paid by the producers that hire them. The actors pay us a fee to represent them and only a percentage of what they work. I'll get on a tiny soapbox and I'll get right off.
Feel free.
Never pay an agent a fee, period. You only pay them if they get you a job. You should not pay them to sign. You should not pay them for pictures, for classes. That's a different animal. So our job, as she said, is to represent our clients to their clients, who are in LA are mostly called buyers. Here they're called clients, producers, casting directors. But the casting directors are as pivotal as we are, because if we didn't have them, they're the conduit through which we submit our clients, whether it be virtual now, which a lot of the casting is virtual, but it's who we have to have strong relationship with so they can trust our judgment of who we are submitting, representing, and negotiating on our actors' behalf to them. So it's a real important partnership and relationship. But a lot of people, my mother till the day she died thought I did casting. Are you still casting? Yeah, I'm casting. I'm casting my people. But it's the casting director's job to be a little more objective and pick who they think is best. And of course, we're all going to think that our clients are best, as we should. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Well, it's hard being last when you.
They've said all the good stuff already.
You can start the next one.
Oh, no, I love it because I totally agree. Because can you imagine if production, being at the top of the tier, just sent out a blast out to all the actors in the world and expected the actors just to submit if they fit? And that's never going to happen in the real world. So it is by attrition that agents are important and casting directors are important. And that relationship, as Mary said and Teresa said, relationships are extremely important. We've got to know the casting directors. We've got to know our talent. There's always a learning curve when we get new talent, because as an agent, part of our job is to get beyond the demo reel, get beyond the headshot, get them to hopefully see beyond what the obvious is. And so many times actors don't have, materials to cover all of what they're qualified to do. So that's why agents are so important, because let's face it, actors they can do anything, right? They can do it. And we're supposed to trust that. So our job is to make sure that we have all the materials needed. There's a proving ground and a learning curve that we have to make sure that we're sending you, that casting is getting the qualified performers. So, yeah.
Well, sort of piggybacking on what all of you have said then, and it's something that I hear from actors no matter what market I'm in. I've been in Dallas a little over a year now, been in Florida for 28 years and embedded in that industry for 20 plus years. And you always hear, well, how do I get an agent? How do I, if only I had a magical talent agent, all my dreams could come true. They would just put me out there and the world would see that I am spectacular. How do you get an agent? And then what does that really mean for an actor?
Okay, that Thank you so much. That is an incredible question. I'm so glad I'm first to answer this because they're going to fill in the blanks. Well, a lot of times an aspiring actor thinks I get an agent and then that's all I need to do.
Right.
We're actually the last of the list. You must you must know what you're doing. We insist you've got to have acting training, go to a good acting coach. I don't even want to see pictures, photos, because so many times you get a deer in the headshot, deer in the headlights headshot of actors that are not comfortable yet in front of the camera. So a lot of times it's not going to be your best, step forward just to reach out to an agent with, headshots and say, what do I do now? So I think all of us on this panel are really good about guiding you to the proper steps. You don't become an astronaut just because you want to be an astronaut, brain surgeon. You've got to have that training and that qualification. And let's face it, not everyone is cut out to be an actor. Not everyone's cut out to be, a brain surgeon, an agent, right? So, but I think there's something in this industry for anyone. But an acting coach will guide you and let you know when you're ready for an agent. And believe me, we will not send actors to them if they don't follow those guidelines of sending us the best people. Doesn't mean 6 weeks and you're an actress or an actor. It is years of training, years of hard work, years of building relationships, years of collecting demos and clips, going to workshops. It is ongoing. And I really rely on our good acting coaches to send us the best. I mean, actors are very welcome to reach out to any of us. But if you're an aspiring actress, the last thing you need to do is reach out to an agent for our magic wand and our little unicorns to ride off on, so we don't have that. We can only work with what you bring to us. So definitely stay with the training. Do not expect it to be instantaneous. Some people have a natural ability, organic feel for the industry, very instinctive. And then some are going to take years. And sometimes I worry that it's going to take years to make you a good actor. I find another profession. Really. I mean, it's sometimes let's direct or write or something. There's always something. Definitely, if you've been an actor for a while, and you've got great materials, good demos, good headshots, please do submit directly to an agent. We're not asking an acting coach, but if you're an aspiring brand new actor, I do recommend that you please go to an acting coach because you're not ready for an agent at this time. We are looking for the best people to submit on these projects, and casting and the producers and ad agencies are depending on us to send in the best we have. So we've got to be assured of that as well.
And Mary, expand a little bit on the on sort of the training aspect.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes what happens is like, well, my friends say that I'm really good looking, so hey, I think I should be an actor.
My personal favorite is, because we do a lot of voiceover, is people will call me and go, I just drove through Church's Chicken. There's a guy there that's got a great voice. And I'm like, man, well, you should sign him. I'm like, the guy at Church's. I should just go drive through and sign him. Right, okay. Training is huge. We represent predominantly people who have had undergrad and master's degrees in acting. The other ones, I'll be honest, are just natural actors, natural ability. But they still have to do training. They still have to hone their craft. They still have to specialize. So I think my biggest pet peeve and my biggest recommendation, keying off a little bit on what you asked me, is research. If you do not do your research before you submit to an agent, forget it. You're wasting our time. And more importantly, you're wasting your time. Because what Linda said is true. If you're starting out, you've got to have something to give us. You will come to us relatively raw, but we have to have something that we can use to mold you and to promote you and to market you. If you have experience, it's a different ballgame. And in particular, in my agency, we only do represent people with experience. However, you have to do your research. And I am shocked by the amount of people who submit who have never even looked at our website. They're sitting at home on Saturday night going, "Oh, it looks like fun. I think I'll submit to an agent tonight." Of course, my first question is, "Really, Saturday night? That's a great idea." Maybe I would have waited till Monday, and I also might have waited till I'd done my research to see how to submit to each agent. We all have on our websites instructions. What are our requirements? What are we looking for? Some agents put up that we're not looking right now, or we may be looking for this category. So training is huge. But there's so much more to getting an agent. And I'm not going to say you have a one-shot chance at it, but I will speak for these ladies when I say that in general, when somebody submits, we call them serial submitters. Submit, resubmit, resubmit. And we're like, you've submitted so many times, we know your name for the wrong reason. And we actually know your resume for the wrong reason. We're like, nope, hadn't done another thing. Okay, just keep submitting. So be smart about it. It's a business. This isn't a hobby. It's a career, and it can be a most satisfying and most rewarding industry. But it has gotten so cutthroat and so competitive that you even have to be more on your game when you're considering going into the business. So I think the answer is when you're looking to become an actor or someone says, "Hey, you've got a great look," there's a lot more you have to consider with that other than just that, because there's so many factors we consider. Your availability, your marketability, your finances. Can you support a career in acting until you make a living at it? A lot of people, like Linda said, some are just boom, you book the first thing you go on. In general, it'll take you 3 years before you're established as an actor, even in a market of Dallas's size. So you've got to have the background and the financial backing to pursue this and have a job that is flexible to allow you to pursue this. And everyone can do it. If you're right for it and you have what it takes, you can do it. But it's systematic. It's not just a whim or a passion. And God bless the passion. We're all passionate about it. But it is show business.
Mm-hmm.
And Teresa, let's expand on that a little bit as well. So at my office, for years, I always get the call, "My son/daughter wants to be an actor. What should I do?" I'm like, and then my response is always, do they want to be an actor or do they want to be famous? Because those are two different things.
Absolutely.
And so you want to be famous, there's TikTok. Well, maybe not for much longer. Instagram, reality shows, whatever kind of thing. But you want to be an actor. And oftentimes I'll say, do theater.
Right.
And that's the last thing that they want to hear,
Right.
because they want to be a movie or a TV star, and nobody wants to do theater. Can you talk a little bit about how important maybe something like theater training is? And you talked about having a bachelor's or a master's in film from a school to kind of take that. So talk about that education aspect of it and theater as well.
Sure. I love that question because theater is my background and my degree is in theater. And so I have a passion for not only performing on a stage once in a blue moon when I can, but just the work ethic that a theater actor brings, I think is almost unmatched because they often are hours and hours and weeks and, late nights with little or no pay. And so if you get someone who is that passionate about their craft and are able to make those kinds of commitments, then already that's a good sign in my book. Now, some people will ask, well, some agents don't want you to do theater, some do. I can only speak for myself. I do encourage it. I think that if you're a theater actor, you know that really unless you're in Tech Week or obviously performances, those are pretty much hard nose. But most of the people in the industry who are directors, choreographers, etc., they may be represented themselves. They may be producing on the side. They understand the business. And if you tell them, hey, I booked a SAG National, so can I, cut out an hour early they're going to say yes. Yeah. Well, not of a performance, but yeah.
Act 2 is over.
Right.
I'm not going to be in Act 3, by the way. But tomorrow I'll be back for Act 3. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So I'm a huge supporter of theater actors and that work ethic that they bring. And then kind of what Mary was saying, off theater just a little bit, but doing the research and understanding what you need to have to present to an agent to get the agent. So there's also, there are mixed opinions on, do you get professional headshots to submit for representation? Sometimes I get the professional headshot and I'm like, that's great, because they understand that you need one. They have them already. And if everything else is in place, then that's something we can check off of the list. Some people may spend the money to get the professional headshots. They're not quite ready for representation, and in another year or two, they're going to have to get a new session. So it just depends on how you look at it from that standpoint. But again, things like theater or just small local, independent films, student films, anything that you can do to kind of get that experience and have something on a resume in order to submit. And as far as the actual process, also mentioned going, every agent is going to have their own requirement as to what and how to submit. I'm pretty sure gone are the days of open calls type situation, unless it's more for the model side of it. And I used to do in-person kind of things as well. For me now, is maybe for y'all too, I'm asking, email your headshot and resume. If you have a link to a demo reel, that's fantastic. If you don't yet have a demo reel put together, do a couple of contrasting monologues, something where I can see you on camera and acting. Something I ask for as well is just give me a minute or two. Just tell me about yourself. I want to see your personality, and that helps me get to know you. I mean, you as the actor are, from a business standpoint, you are kind of the product, that we are trying to sell. So we need to know you as a person and all of the things that you bring to the table that make you uniquely you, in order to be able to kind of like pitch you to the casting director. Oh yeah, so-and-so, actually they have a skateboarding background or whatever it is. So we know you better. And then the biggest thing that I really, really look for, and some people may have slightly less experience, and sometimes that's okay, is the professionalism aspect and that kind of that business sense. If you start with, just a, hey, no spelling, like, hey there, I'm reaching for the stars, my stuff's attached, or whatnot. Or there's nothing in the body of the email.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Or it's addressed to all of us.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, we get those all the time. To every agent in Dallas. I am specifically interested in your
the wrong
agency. Yes. So having
they forgot to BCC. It was just,
yes. Right. It's literally to all of us. That's pretty funny. Or it's just one selfie, no resume, nothing else. It's like. So just
that's because their friends told them they were good looking. So
yeah, it's not just a hobby. Nurse said. I mean, you have to treat it like you are your own business, and so that's just really important to have that mindset.
Well, and thank you for saying as well, because this is what I always tell people too, is student films, independent films. I was like, you're gonna have to work for free when you're first getting started, just to get on set and do stuff and to get experience and to learn. And I think that's super important, is just getting out there.
Well, and as I said earlier, referrals are huge. And if you want to get into community theater, you may be in a play with one of our clients. That's how we get a lot of our submissions. I just worked with this great kid. You really need to see them. I mean, it's networking like this. It's just that we don't have the opportunity to network in person like we used to. But that is huge. And by all means, please do not submit a bathroom selfie.
Well, and so on that point, and you can talk about this, educate yourself, find those resources. Can you just give some examples of resources? Like, do you have listed on your websites? Here are some options to get headshots. Here are some acting classes that you can take. Here are some theater groups. Here's a video that explains how to audition or how to put yourself on tape. Because now that's very important as well, is like, if you don't even know how to properly film yourself on tape, that's a big part of the casting process.
Oh, absolutely. And student films, independent films, that's also an incredible way to build relationships, because I think a lot of people don't understand how the future of this industry. You might be working with a director or a student film maker that will be the next Spielberg.
Right.
One of my best relationships that I've had for the last 25 years has been with Chad Gunderson, who is the producer of The Chosen. I have known Chad since he was a UNT film student, and he used to fax me his little student film breakdowns. And I think we had pagers, and I used to post it out on he remembers that for so long, and he's always been so grateful that I was an agent that was, responsive. And he would give us such incredible footage. And, you never know with a lot of these independent films or student films, you do it because not everything you do, even if you're paid, is going to be amazing.
Right.
But it's definitely building relationships with our future filmmakers. And that will always come back to be a very special part of your life. Also, what you have to remember is a lot of these commercial directors and producers are aspiring to be film and TV film and TV producers and directors. Look at Ridley Scott. Steven Spielberg did commercials. Look at Chad Gunderson. He was an independent film producer for years, now one of the biggest, producers in Hollywood and in Texas. So proud he's from Texas, because of The Chosen. So don't just, brush off. If it's a commercial, you never know. A lot of these commercial crew people are also on film and TV crews. So you expand your horizons. Some of the little PAs, they may be the next first AD. You never know. Right. Take advantage of some of the free resources. A lot of times your acting coaches will be approached by independent filmmaker if they feel like, well, the agents aren't going to respond to our, little low pay, no pay, projects. They'll go directly to the acting coaches and say, do you have any students that, would like to work on our project? So embrace everything around you. One of the best networking things you can do is work at a film festival, do volunteer work. You can be a driver for producers and actors coming in. You can be one of their escorts, one of their assistants, or you can just
escorts.
Well, there is that.
That's another side of the industry.
We're talking about that.
Right. I have
Sorry.
different terminology on it.
I should have just left that one alone.
I'm not that kind of agent. But so take advantage of things. A lot of times I do encourage my actors, please don't submit yourself on especially paid commercial ads. Please do not. A lot of times we have declined working with the producer or the casting director because the pay is not enough for the usage they want. The usage we never do in perpetuity unless it's a charity and it's, it depends on the project. But please do not do that. So what they do is they'll go to Actors Access or social media.
That's a great resource. I wanted to mention that.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But please do not, if you have an agent, please make sure you reach out to your agent and say, hey, did you submit me on this or is this a good thing to submit on? You've got to be careful. And again, as Mary so aptly stated, do your research. You cannot just take everything at face value in this industry. Right. This industry is compiled a lot of scams, I hate to say it, and a lot of people that will definitely take advantage of you. And I've recently signed an actor that I had to make him take off a previous acting coach from his resume because it was not a legit, and it was very unfortunate. So, I've got people that will reach out to me saying, I know I'm not ready for an agent yet, but can you guide me on, is this, I think we'll all do that. We're all ready here, happy to help anyone seasoned in the industry, starting out in the industry. I think the last thing any of us want is for you to get caught up in a scam to where you're going to waste your time and it's going to cost you money. And so please be careful out there. But we all have incredible resources for photographers, great acting coaches. In fact, it's nice because I'll have one of my actors reach out and say, oh, I found this great photographer, or there's this amazing acting coach, and I didn't even know anything about him. So we can, learn from the industry too. So, we look forward to that. So, but, please do your research on this. Don't just take someone's word for things. Right. And if you have an agent, please rely on that agent and ask their advice. That's what we're here for. We're not, people that say, oh, I didn't want to bother you, Linda. And I'm like, what do you think I'm in business for? I see your face every time, I'm on we're on headshots and, we're here to work as a team. It's not the agent and the lowly actor. No, we're a team. So, please rely on it.
And Mary, you had something you
I
wanted
had something
to say.
to add about that because unfortunately we don't have a lot of resources, and now you've made me realize we should on our site just because of the caliber talent we sign. Linda's got incredible resources on her site. I'm not sure
we have a talent resource.
Okay, good. But there are so many things that can rip you off And you have to be careful. And like Linda was saying, if it's free, that's great experience, but be careful what you sign. Be careful, what someone is asking you to do, because it could come back to bite you years later. Say you agree to do a free commercial. It could run for the rest of your known life, and you'll never make a penny off of it. And that's where agents come in. We vet the work, like Linda was saying, we vet it so you don't have to. So if we are saying, here's an opportunity for you, it's been vetted, it's a quality project, and you should consider it. When you don't have representation, that's the trick. There are several classes. There are several acting coaches in town. There's great photographers. There's all of that. But for submitting yourself, there's a great little, some of you may know this, it's called Actors Access. And Actors Access is the backside of Breakdown Services. And Breakdown Services is the preeminent casting submission site that we all use. It's the granddaddy. It's been around as long as I have. It's a great, great company. And on the other side is Actors Access. And for actors who are not represented, they can self-submit. So you can actually have the opportunity to submit yourself on some things. You do have to register. You don't really have to pay. The trick is, and I found this out recently, if you do self-submit, you have to pay each time you submit. We don't approve of any actor ever having to pay to submit themselves on anything.
No
You shouldn't.
auditions.
That's anathema to the industry. So you can go on and pay like $9.99 a month and have access to all these breakdowns without paying. But it's just one of the many resources that you would probably not know about that are out there that you could take advantage of to try to get some training, to try to get some experience. A lot of the colleges, student films, they'll put out, some have bulletin boards, electronic boards. You can see if they're casting a student film. Film festivals are an excellent way to do it. Theater is too. There's always some opportunities out there. The trick is, of course, finding them. And that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
Industry organizations are another way. You join the DPA. Somebody on the Dallas Producers Association might be doing an independent film, or they might need some free people to do a PSA. Take advantage of any of those opportunities, especially if you know the person is legitimate.
Yeah, I wanted to add something quickly.
Yeah.
So earlier we were talking about the responsibility we have to the casting directors, producers, in order to pre-screen qualified talent. We also have a responsibility to the actors to do just that, and we screen out these projects. And so we're looking and seeing what looks legit, what is, is the rate going to be worth it for the usage? And something we're talking about, with the conflicts, well, not only if it's in perpetuity, it may be something that runs for the rest of your life without additional pay, but also, let's say it's a technology, and it's going to be a conflict for any other technology for the rest of your life. And so you can't book this if you ever booked anything else, so you have a shot at like a AT&T SAG National commercial that's going to pay you thousands of dollars, but you can't do it.
Right.
Because you took this little gig that's running forever and ever, and you got $250 and you're excited about it, but you didn't run it through your agent. Yeah, so that's really important as well.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the local market, about the Dallas market. So when I got here, one of the things that I learned was it's actually very similar to Florida in that it's a heavy commercial market.
Right.
Florida, there's no state film incentive, and so it's all commercial industry, and it's year-round because of the great weather and productions are always coming. And so while Dallas doesn't have beaches or anything like that, it is a big national market, and it's a heavy commercial production, and that's where people really make a living, not just on the acting side, but even in the production side. Anybody that's in the industry locally is doing something in the commercial industry to make a living, and then when those films and television shows come along, those are the ones that they want to do and they enjoy doing. So just talk a little bit about the local market and how the local market is based, and it's leaned heavily towards commercials, and how really that works with what you guys do.
Well, I mean, commercials, industrials, and that, as long as I've been an agent, has always really been the bread and butter of this market. There are the film and television projects, of course. However, a lot of times what I see is that once they release that to our region, they've also released it to other areas as well. So they're looking at talent in several different markets. So the competition, there's a lot more competition. You're going against much more experienced actors. However, if you are here locally, they're doing a quick commercial shoot. They need somebody who's already, based in Dallas-Fort Worth. It's a certain look. It's being able to deliver a line a certain way. And like Linda mentioned earlier, it's building those relationships with those producers and directors who also are working in film and television. Then it's really important to try and get your foot in the door in there as well.
Right. Commercial is huge here. It always has been. It's been a major top 10 advertising market as long as I've been in the business. The other thing is voiceover. Voiceover is huge. I'm sure you've heard the term anime. There's a very large amount of anime done in this market out of Dallas. It's one of the centers for it. Game voices, all kinds of things. So voiceover is another great way to get involved in the commercial world, because that's a huge segment of what we do. And voiceover is a little different. Commercials are usually based on where they're shooting. We've got it twofold here. We've got fantastic ad agencies that may be shooting elsewhere, utilizing Dallas talent, or somebody's coming into Texas to shoot because they know it's a big market, and then we would be able to cast that too. So it's not limited to local spots by any means. And the other thing that I thought you could think about doing kind of off the commercial topic is do background extra work on film and TV. We've got a lot going on in Texas, and that's a tremendous way to get started, is to go through someone who does the background casting. And that's a great way to get on set if you know what you're doing, and if you mind yourself and don't try to step up and say a line just so you think you can be upgraded to a principal, you'll get asked back, and that's another way to do it. But commercials are great, and there's also commercials that are out there that are not going through agents. And I think our message here tonight is probably the most important thing, is that if you can get with an agent, and there are different kinds of agents in this market, there's probably more than you realize. There's a group of us that are established, that rep established people, rep union people. There are also a lot of agents that don't rep anybody but beginners. And there's a way that you can kind of move up through the ranks as your career grows. But commercial is by commercial and corporate video, corporate industrial, web videos, training videos. Huge business here. We have some wonderful producers, and that's a great way to make a living. A lot of people, I want to do a movie. Well, of course you do. So does everybody else. No, you want to make money. And if you want to make a living at this, then you want to do commercials, and you want to do corporate video, and you want to do voiceover, and you want to be versatile. You don't want to limit yourself. Everybody we interview wants to do movies. Sure.
That's a given, right? It's like,
It's a given.
yeah, okay, you're an actor. We know you want to do
Right.
movies.
Okay, now what?
I need you to do this commercial, though.
Exactly. And don't be too big, no matter where you are in your career, to say no.
I don't know. I think a lot of people would like to have flow on a progressive's job.
20 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, that's a career that
That's
she's
huge.
built out of strictly commercials. She probably doesn't care if she ever does a film or TV
And the
series.
girl that does the AT&T spots.
Yeah. And she actually
got out.
does.
Yeah, and she got out of the business. She was like, I've had it. I'm not doing this anymore.
And she's directing some of those AT&T
Right.
spots now
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great industry to be in.
Yeah. So maybe, Linda, talk a little bit about SAG versus non-SAG, FICOR, because so many actors are like, I want to be a SAG, I got to be a SAG actor. But in certain markets, it doesn't make sense, because you're going to limit yourself and limit what you're able to do, especially for when we talk about the commercial world. Not everything is a SAG national commercial. Right. And so you're unable to do a lot of projects if you go that route. And so maybe just for definitions for the audience of SAG eligible, SAG, and then FICOR, which is a term that not a lot of people probably know about, but
we do.
As someone who's been a producer for a long time as well, I think it's worth explaining.
Absolutely. Well, Texas is a right to work state, and right to work pertains to you have the right to work on a union project, even if you are not a union member. A lot of people get that confused, thinking that if you're a union member, you can work on anything non-union, and it absolutely protects the non-union performer. In Texas, I know SAG-AFTRA does not want me to state this, but in Texas, you can do 1 million union projects and never have to join, but you still accrue the SAG producer health benefits. You can still attain that. You still build up a pension. Of course, you can't access the pension unless you join the union, which makes sense. But I leave that up to my actors if they prefer to join the union, but I encourage them to please wait until their resume is built. Right. You're going to miss a lot of good non-union work if you quickly join the union when you're immediately qualified to join. I do have some actors that have gone financial core. I don't know if anyone here knows what financial core is, but that's actually as a financial core status is a legal status of any union, not just SAG and AFTRA. Auto workers. It was actually brought about by United Auto Worker back in 1988, Beck versus the USA. Detroit was just, on strike, and he was about to lose his home. So he got an attorney that was happy to take on the UAW. So it went all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court stated you should not allow people to work if they have to work and make a living. So they came up with a status for all unions, not just the entertainment industry, called financial core, meaning you still pay your union dues, but you get a 3 to 4% discount of your union dues. And then you are able then to work non-union. What you're doing is you're disassociating yourself from the union PACs.
Right.
And you're not politically involved in that, meaning you can't vote in the union, you can't run for office, but you now have the qualification and the ability to do union and non-union work, and you cannot be blacklisted by doing that.
Right.
It is a legit, and now some union members absolutely don't want to do this. That's fine. But some people have found that they definitely make a living at this industry, but they have to incorporate both union and non-union work doing that. You'll find some SAG-AFTRA board members that have now become FICOR because they're working full time.
There's a lot of, and SAG will heavily discourage you from doing that. Like they'll doom and gloom, but the reality is that it could actually be very beneficial.
Absolutely beneficial.
And tell them the part about working in other markets. That's where it's most beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Well, for one thing, if you're, Texas is a right to work state, but we actually have actors booking in union states such as New Mexico. You do a job in New Mexico, they might give you a pass for one time. You book another job in a union state, you're going to be a must join. So you can't, just because you live in Texas, it depends on where you're shooting. Let's say you live in Texas, you book something in Los Angeles, New York. Now we've got like 25 union, 25 right to work states. But New Mexico is a heavy union state. You're not going to have a choice, but you're going to have to join. That is when you can either stay the union course. You can't become financial core until you join the union. Then that's when you can make that decision on, do I change to a financial core status? If you're non-union, you're fine if you stay SAG eligible. But once you've worked in a union state, again, a lot of times you are given that free pass on one union booking. You go back again, and they're going to come out. Yeah, they're going to make you join. You don't have a choice, and it is a very expensive membership. It can be very limiting. Now, I think even in Los Angeles, about 80% of the commercials in LA are non-union. Right. It's becoming an increasingly a non-union world, and I think a lot of it is because of the strikes, because of the kind of the press feel that a lot of producers and actors feel like, we're coming up on a potential IATSE union strike in June. We may be going through another strike. And again, if the crew stops, hey, we're all going to stop. Right. It's just like the writers and the actors, striking. Right. So it's something to be said for looking at your other options. You're not considered unprofessional if you choose to do that. Because SAG and AFTRA no union can dictate whether you choose to go FICOR. They will be very threatening. I'm flat going to tell you, they're going to be very threatening.
No, they do.
Very threatening, but you just ignore it. Keep your union card and you keep working, and there's nothing they can do. It does not.
We're not advocating that you give the middle finger to SAG.
No. Be very respectful. Just keep
this
going.
This will be on our podcast, so if anyone from SAG is listening, it's not what we're saying. We're just explaining the legalities and the options for everybody out there.
Because as agents, we have to give you the reality and the options. We can't be, structured this way. This is going on in Los Angeles too. They're telling actors this exact same thing. So most of my actors in Los Angeles are union because it is a union state, but a lot of them are financial core because their commercial agent has actually asked them, please, you've got to go FICOR, I'm going to go out of business because it's all, So weigh your options carefully before you join the union, unless you are a must join. So there is a should join and a must join. The should join is when you've done your union job and you become SAG eligible. That SAG considers you a should join, but you don't have to. One job. Then your Taft-Hartley, and that is introducing you to your SAG eligibility. But SAG also, that's when when you join the union, you must go with a franchised agent or an association of talent agents, ATA or SAG after franchise. So they're very strict on that, and rightfully so. I mean, it's definitely an option. I'm going to let somebody else talk. Sorry.
Well, and I was going to say too, so we should probably take some questions from the audience as well. So we could sit up here and chat all day long, of course, but all of you, I'm sure, have questions. So there's a hand up right away before I even get to go. So go right ahead.
My question is about if you decide to pursue voiceover work, do you still recommend getting an acting coach, still doing headshots, or is that a different process?
It's a different process. So now with Anime World, people do have a lot of visual aid to promote themselves, but in general, you don't need to be seen to be heard. So really, it's more about your training. There's a wealth of information out there on the web. And that's one thing I wanted to mention, Tony, was about training. There are so many great YouTube videos now, how to set up a home studio, how to set up home taping. There's a wealth of information out there that was not available pre-COVID. But for voiceover, no, you don't need that. You will need a resume and you'll need some training. And it's kind of like pictures. Do you get pictures and then you go to an agent and they go, I don't like your pictures? It's a catch-22. You've got to have something to submit. And for voiceover, you have to have something to submit to them, whether it's a demo you put together, something that can be competitive, whether it's samples of the work you've done, but you do have to have something.
Great. All right, more questions. All the way at the top there.
So in the minority of not being an actor in the room, obviously
leave now. Go right ahead. I'm doing.
So you all work with casting directors. Do you ever work directly with filmmakers and producers? And how does that relationship work as far as introducing to you all in your roster?
I mean, basically, they can just email the information to me, say I've got, my independent film here. I need 3 roles. I'm not necessarily going through a casting director. I've contacted, a couple of agents. Can you help me out? And I'll kind of look through it and see. Sometimes I recognize the name, kind of check out the details. And if everything looks legit, I'm happy to share the information with the actors and see, if that's something they might be interested in doing. I also have kind of it's just a Google group, basically. So if actors submit to me, but I don't necessarily have a place for them at that time, I'll give an invitation to join this Google group. So if I have, smaller projects or just headshot specials or workshops and things that are going on in the area, it's just another resource for information. So sometimes I get information for those kinds of castings, and I'll send it out to those people as well. They're building up their resume. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem just getting an email with the information directly.
Great. More questions, I'm sure, somewhere. I'm looking past the... Okay, right here.
Do y'all prefer an actor have their entire demo reel on Actors Access or split them up into clips that...
It's a good question, but we couldn't hear. Do you prefer an actor have their entire reel on Actors Access or split them up into clips? And when you say clips, you mean like comedy, drama, whatever sort of the skills are.
This is what I prefer. If it's a known project, like Killers of the Flower Moon, NCIS, absolutely separate clips. If it's a lot of independent projects that is probably never going to be seen, but really good footage, independent films, student films, I would prefer having like a 1-minute comedy, a 1-minute drama, just to kind of give a different little tone. But honestly, for known projects, if you book it, please don't clump it into a big demo reel that is going to be hard to find. It's imperative. Casting directors actually do prefer the clips, as long as it's something that is known for. And that way it gives them an idea of, oh, they booked this. They booked, and also a tone. Is it a drama? Is it a comedy? It kind of goes along in line with, with what you can do in your work. But again, don't leave out the independent film and student film. If you've got good footage, I would just clump that into a compiled comedy and drama reel.
It's more targeted. It's more targeted submissions. we can really target the role we're trying to get you. If we have the tools that we need, and the more specific, the better.
Okay, great. Anything this side of the room? My back is always turned to you guys over there, so I don't mean to ignore you.
Do y'all, after hearing what you said about the other regions being union or not, do y'all submit out of Texas?
Oh yeah,
Do you submit out of market?
We absolutely do. You know, before technology changed, everything was very regional centric. You know, we did regional, we did the 5-state region, but now we submit on everything everywhere. So it exponentially increases the competition, but it also increases the opportunities at the same time. So yes, we all submit to pretty much everybody. And in answer to your question about a producer, we work directly with so many people. And what's changed with the casting world, Linda and I were just talking about this earlier today, is there's not always a casting person involved. And even if there is, we don't interact with them anymore. We pretty much interact with the software, which truly ties our hands, because that's not who an agent is. An agent picks up the phone and says, you need to see our client. And with a piece of software, you really can't do that. You just can click a button and submit and hope for the best. So it's good to have those relationships with casting directors so that they know to call you. But there's this new thing in the middle now that's called technology that does limit our ability to be as proactive as agents are known to be.
Great. Sure.
With that being said, do you guys also have relationships with like acting schools, like at the beginning of it, right? Because I'm from New Orleans. I was picked up by like somebody, but people just believe me, right? And at the beginning, is there like some sort of liaison between you guys and the people at the beginning to be able to contact? You know what I mean? Am I making sense?
Acting coach?
Yeah. Are you talking about more acting coaches? I prefer.
Acting coaches, acting schools. But if somebody's starting from the very beginning, like where do they go in order to get to
Training.
Yeah, most of my favorite acting coaches are independent coaches, not associated with a school, because the problem with the school is it can get very expensive and you're stuck with that school for a certain number of years or months, unless it's like a college degree or, that's fine. But I like my actors to not get married to an acting coach.
Yeah, right.
I really want them to diversify and try a few other approaches. You get so comfortable with one technique or method that you can do it in your sleep. And then that's not the real acting world. You need to, I wish the acting coaches in town would automatically just rotate. That would be awesome, but they're not. So
That's a good idea.
but each of them have a unique style. And even if it's someone that you just can't resonate with, I say stay the course, because guess what? You're going to have to work with somebody that you can't resonate with. And it's actually a good chance to be able to force to like someone or work with someone and bring those acting juices and ability out to make it believable when you're really having a miserable time. So you're not going to like every director or producer or actor that you're running. But yeah, I would recommend, not every 6 months change, but maybe every couple of years change your acting coach and just kind of get a good mixture of techniques in it. It's going to bring out a wealth of information and ability out of you too.
Good. And so, Teresa, I wanted to pass the mic down to you and ask you a question let you go on that, and then I have a question for you.
Okay, sure. So as far as relationships with those acting coaches specifically, I think we know personally most of the independent acting coaches in the area who sometimes will give recommendations. I've been working with them for the last 6-9 months, a year, and they're a little newer. They have done this, and those recommendations carry a lot of weight. But the people listed on our resources page on our website, I've observed classes in person. I have a relationship with them in person, so we know who it is, and that's that's already established, so that we are in contact with them if you are getting started.
And my question is, and maybe this is a little nerdy acting question, do you feel like every acting coach for the last 15 years has all gone Meisner and there's nothing else? Because there's a lot of different acting methods, but it seems like everything is Meisner now. And I'm sorry if that's a little. Does everybody know what Meisner? When I say Meisner, like Meisner method acting. There's, anyways. Do you feel that way? I don't know. That's what I seem to run into all the time.
I don't think so. I
No.
see how there, there's a lot of that, yes, but I don't think so necessarily.
Well, that's good then.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Not so much here.
there's
Yeah.
there's such a variety, in this area who have all sorts of different approaches. Now, granted, I will say I haven't necessarily been visiting them in person in recent, months necessarily. I'm not sure. Maybe they all switched to Meisner, but but from what I see, I mean, and just kind of like seeing how actors are delivering their auditions and everything. I think there's a variety of.
Okay, good. Sorry, that was a little sidetrack,
It's okay.
nerdy acting question, but right here.
Could you share with me some insights about how a filmmaker, like a director or a writer, can get an
Insights about a filmmaker getting an agent as opposed to just an actor getting an agent.
Unfortunately, here we don't have a lot of packaging agents like they do in LA, which I'm sure, Tony, you're more used to, where, you can get with an agent and they'll be rep directors, writers, whatever. So I get asked this all the time to rep writers and producers and directors. And so far, the market hasn't really supported that. That's not to say it can't change, and I'm hoping it will. But there's a few reps, like people that have marketing reps, but there's not too many people who represent directors in this market.
Yeah, outside of Los Angeles and New York, it really doesn't exist as far as that goes. You have to make your own.
Can I
way.
expand on that a little
absolutely.
bit? Okay, the reason being why we don't have those associations is because in Los Angeles, the agents there have relationships with the studios and the networks and the directors, and we don't have that easy access. They may be here for a little time, or Taylor Sheridan's here, but you really don't want to listen to those people anyway. Taylor does his own thing, thankfully. But for a writer, director, and producer, those agents are the packaging agents, CAA, ICM, Paradigm. They are lunching and networking with the studios. So it's really better to try to get. Of course, that's going to be difficult because the whole landscape has changed since the pandemic and all these strikes. There's a lot of upheaval. And a lot of people are no longer there. So, but I would reach out to Los Angeles.
Well, and the way that they find talent like that is you've got to film in Sundance, you get to film in Tribeca, and you're an unknown as far as that goes. And then you're somebody that they want to sign and bring on, and then they can pitch you for projects. But you kind of have to do something first. Like nobody, as far as the big agencies like that, signs, writer, producer, director, unless you give them a reason to, other than like, hey, I've got some really good stuff that I've made, and they're like, yeah, we don't care. It's and that's just the truth. I mean, that's just the way they are. It's a brutal industry as far as that goes. So the main thing is you just got to go out there and keep making making stuff and break your way through essentially.
Hi guys. So I know the pandemic was horrible, but it also, as you said, Mary, brought about a lot of opportunity for actors. As well as being able to take classes that we may not have been able to take before.
Exactly.
One of my questions is like, what do you guys have any recommendations, either New York or LA? I know you guys do a lot of work in LA. Do you have any classes with teachers that you trust?
We do.
Out in LA? And also, do you have anything to say to, new actors on taking Zoom classes, on taking online classes or workshops?
Yeah,
go for that.
I would like to recommend to anyone that, first conquer this market.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got to conquer this market. And I know people get impatient. And unfortunately, I am going to lambaste the casting directors that thought it was a brilliant idea during the pandemic. Let's see what else is out there in the universe. And sent out on Actors Access saying, here's some sites. And we'd like to see, well, they now regret it. Because what it did a disservice to the actors, because it made them seem like the casting directors are actually really looking for actors that, well, no, the casting directors are just bored. Not all of them. Not all of them, but some of them were. And so they mistakenly, and they regret it now, sent out all of these, casting notices to actors on Actors Access to, let's see, just submit this and this. And well, they thought they would probably get about 5,000. No, let's say more like 50 to 100,000, and they had to shut it down. And now, and a lot of regional agents then thought, oh, well, I can just take the LA breakdowns and they want to see and now that's backed off. Now LA and New York are finally coming back saying, we're going in the room. We're going, please, LA based actors only, New York based actors only. But what I do recommend is the workshops on Zoom, Ace Studios, ATI or something like that. I've got actors site out of Los Angeles that you can actually work with the casting directors of the large TV shows. What y'all may not be aware of is the LA casting directors will always get the bigger roles. Because that's the relationships in the networks and the studios. And I know you may not know this actor that just booked this co-star role and they're flying in, but that director knew that actor and he worked with him on 5 other shows. He hasn't worked with you guys. So a lot of times when like Beth Setko is casting Taylor Sheridan's projects here, she's working with John Papsadera, who does mainly the LA casting stuff for Taylor Sheridan. And so Beth and John Papsadera are working closely hand in hand. And there's a lot of times that Beth will actually recommend maybe an actor that moved to Los Angeles to John, or an actor that's moved from LA to, so work here. But if you're doing the casting director workshops on Zoom, you're not flying out there. And it's a great relationship. And just say, yeah, I've auditioned for Beth Setko or Tony Cobb-Brock or Vicky Boone, or, and they may be very well aware of that. But conquer this, your little world here.
Well, and I think an important note on that point as well is then, it's the producer or director who's going to select the actor. And a huge factor in that is, what are the tax incentives where I'm shooting? Is it required that I need to have, so Texas, for example, you need to have 55% local cast and crew. And, when you're looking at the budget of your project, doesn't matter if it's a big TV series or it's a small independent film, and you're like, I got to fly this person in, I got to give them a per diem, I got to stick them in a hotel, or I can get a local actor who we're just paying them their day rate or their week rate or whatever it is. And so that's very important from a perspective of a reason why you're not going to get flown somewhere to do something, because they don't want to pay all the extras that come along with it when they could get an actor that's just equally as good for whatever 3 lines you're saying in a particular project. Now, there are exceptions. Obviously, everybody here knows Julio Cedillo. He's been a long time client of yours. Julio's amazing and, travels all over the world on projects. But he's been in the industry for...
But he also started where you did.
30 years.
He started. One quick thing about classes, to piggyback what Linda said, is we've talked a lot about this when casting directors from LA and New York come into town. Take the class if you want to, but do not expect to be cast. That's not why they're here. It might be an opportunity to learn something, but it's not going to be, they're not going to immediately go back and go, okay, we're going to cast all these people I just had in my class. We always laugh. We're like, they're bored. They don't have a job. Okay. But classes, the good thing with the pandemic is that there is a plethora of classes out there that otherwise you would have not had an opportunity to take up until then. So that's wonderful.
Can we add something
Teresa,
really
you have
quickly
something
about
to add?
that?
Sure.
Yeah, just really quickly too about like local casting directors will often do a workshop here or there, and I always encourage our actors to do that as well, because it's not, like Mary said, they're not necessarily casting for a project. Oh, you signed up for my workshop, so I'm going to book you in the next commercial I'm working on. However, you are building that relationship, and you always hear the phrase, "Well, it's the who you know," and sometimes it is, and it's not because of favoritism. It's because a relationship has been built on trust and reliability, and you see that they're working and you see their growth, and so they do get to know you sometimes through these workshop opportunities, and they'll give you a shot at that audition. They'll push for you to get the call back, that kind of thing. And one of the phrases that drives me crazy is, my agent's not sending me out.
I was going to ask you about that. Yes.
Oh, music to our ears.
I didn't want to push any buttons, but
okay.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't know that everybody understands that we don't get a choice. We can submit you for the project. We can coach you on, hey, you need to get better headshots. You need to let's work on your demo reel. Let's work on reformatting your resume or whatever the case may be. And then here comes the project and here comes the technology, and we're like, beep, sometimes we can add a couple notes or whatnot, but it's basically like, here's what we've got, and then we're just waiting. We're waiting because they're picking who they want to see. they're choosing who they want to audition. You know, we could try, but it is relationship based. They're trusting our judgment that we have good people, but then they let us know who they want to see.
Right.
So if you're not getting many auditions and you have a good agent, then I mean, you're getting submitted, but there's some other reason. The agents do not decide who gets the auditions, and that's something that I think is a big misconception.
Yeah, and I will say, I'll tell you from a producer's perspective. You know, sitting in front of your computer and you click and you open for a particular role on a project, and then you've just got a screen full of thumbnails.
Right.
And you look at that and you're like, oh my God.
Right.
You're like, I have to watch all of these. And you start watching them, and then you click forward a little bit, you fast forward, and you're like, okay, next one.
Right, exactly.
And a lot of it is you're basing right off the bat. You're like, you're looking at the thumbnails, you're like, who has the look first?
Right.
You're like, oh, okay, and then you click and you watch, oh, that one's pretty good. And so honestly, it is from the other side of the screen. It's really hard from then the casting perspective, because you're just looking at these tiny little thumbnails, and that's on a big monitor. Some people are doing it on their phones, which is awful.
Right.
And it really is a terrible way to, for this process in this industry to work. I wish there was we could all go back to the old system, but that's not going to happen. Just people showing up in person. But I just want to give you a little feedback from the producer side, what it looks like, and it can be very daunting from that side too, because you've got to cast this role, and you're like, it's one line. Like, I don't need to look at all of these.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of like, with the headshots, we give you advice on headshots. We're like, hey, just consider a new session, please, or you need something a little brighter and something that pops. Because if they're scrolling and yours doesn't stand out, like they're never even going to click on it to look at your beautiful resume that you've worked hard for 10 years with all these credits. They're not even going to look at that because your headshot doesn't stand out. And then there was the demo reel question earlier. If your demo reel is really, really long, it's just realistically not going to get watched. It's got to capture your attention and have, things that are really critical in the beginning, and kind of clip them apart like we talked about earlier. But those things are really important in trying to get seen.
And also updating, because people will get them to update their casting sites, and then they sit there. And we're like, it's the same picture you've had for 5 years. Yeah. They're as sick of looking at it as we are.
I've seen 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12,
I'm like, you don't think they noticed it's the same picture they've been seeing? Just imagine what they would think if they went, oh my God, they got a new picture. They'd be as excited as we are. So it really can be a game changer. So it's not a one-time thing. You really have to, like everything in business, you have to maintain and adapt and keep it going, so that when he goes through all those thumbnails, because it's our job to build a relationship to give you the opportunity. We want to get the calls. It's kind of become a one-way street. We don't call and say we'd like to submit on that anymore. We have to be invited to submit. So we want to have the relationship to make sure we give our clients the opportunity. But like she said, once we do press that button, it's in the producers.
Well, and a lot of times too, when you talk about the relationships, there are, you're like, well, I've worked with Jeremy 100 times. I just like working with Jeremy.
Right.
Let's just call him up.
Right.
And then, call his agent and say, hey, will you book Jeremy again?
Like Julio.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Julio, right.
Julio is just amazing on the set, and people just want him back because he's fun to work with. He's exceedingly talented. He's a master of social media, and he knows how to self-promote without being usurious or obnoxious. And so once you get to that level, your work just begets work. He's kind of on a roll right now. Yeah. He's just like doing series after series, but it takes a long time to get there.
Yeah, it's good. So there was a question up here somewhere, right? Yeah, right here. That's okay. Clear the throat.
I wasn't expecting you to pick, and it's crazy because I have like a billion questions, and I'm just going to just break it on down to two. So my first question is in regards to demo reels. Honestly, like a 1 minute demo reel? How much of that are you like? Is it wise, like, to have your very best right there at the very, very beginning? Because, I mean, like you said, you click on a thumbnail or you open up a folder.
Right.
You have so many thumbnails on there. You're only going to give yourself so many seconds of each one.
Right.
So how long, like, what is the expectancy on that? And then my second question is in regards to submitting to your agencies. I know you all are very busy and your team is helping you look through all of the resumes and the reels and everything like that, is there ever an opportunity to ask for feedback in regards to maybe why one did not get submitted?
That's tough.
That's a good question.
That's a great question. That's a great question.
Yeah. Are you talking about getting submitted if you're with an agent?
No, as an actor
To submit to
Oh,
us.
I'm sorry.
To submit to
Okay,
us.
got it. Well, let me go back to the demo reel
Okay.
first. And again, put your best information, put your best footage first, always. Again, if it's a known project, make sure it starts out on you. Even if it's the middle of the scene, you don't have to show the entire scene if it's a long scene. Make sure it focuses on you. Don't make it be about the other person, because all of a sudden I'm looking at a demo and I'm like, who's that guy? I want to die. That's the one. And I hate to call an actor up and say, yeah, forget you. Who's this person you're acting with? So make sure it's focusing on you. But for the, it can be 10 seconds. It can be 30 seconds. Just make sure it does show your solid work. But again, if it's a known project, make sure that's an independent clip, not like NCIS, Landman, Walker. If it's, and it does not have to be in chronological order. Put your best information. In fact, if it's not that great of footage, I wouldn't even put it on there.
Right.
Because a lot of times they're not going to, as Tony said, they're not going to go through a lot of the videos right off the bat. They're going to go through who already looks like the person that it fits the role.
Right.
So don't worry about, oh, well, I can dye my hair. Well, yeah, there's no time for that. Let's face it. So when you're, on your demo, just make sure it's your best footage. On the 1 minute comedy is what I recommend. 1 minute comedy, 1 minute drama, and keep it short and concise. Don't have pauses in the middle. I prefer a title thing, especially on an independent or a student film. Have a title. You never know. That may be a trailer and they're using it and it's going to be a bigger, film later. But make sure your work, the solid work is first. Even if it was some of the stuff you did 2 years ago, but it's still some of your best work, put that first on there. And then we can't always, as much as we would love to sign people, we see people and they're amazing. Sometimes we're already pretty heavy on that character or that look, and that might be the only consideration is that. And I try to answer everyone that submits to us. I try very hard. We're behind on really reviewing submissions, but I may say, look, we're not looking for your type right now. Please feel free to send to us in a couple of months. I have no problem with people resubmitting over and over again. And can I make a statement on someone that said, is my agent submitting me? Or I think that Teresa that said
Teresa,
that.
yeah.
If you have an agent.
Is your agent submitting you, Teresa?
Yeah. Right.
This emoji.
Right? I know, right? If you have an agent, ask for a talent report. That is something that can be pulled up immediately on Actors Access or casting networks. I hate casting networks, so never mind with that. But, yeah, breakdown services I love.
Most people do.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But talent reports will show you exactly what your agent has submitted you on. From the time you signed with them, they can pull it up either the week before, the year before. They have a great talent report, and it takes like 5 seconds to pull it up. PDF file, email it to the actors. So if you have an agent, make sure you ask for that talent report occasionally, just so you know what you've been submitted on. You're going to be surprised.
And you have every right to ask for that. A lot of people are intimidated. Oh God, I don't want to make my agent mad.
No.
You hired us. You hire us. We work for you. So you deserve to know that. And it doesn't just have to be film and TV. You can say, what kind of stuff are you submitting me on? How do you see me? What role do you see? What are you guys submitting me for? There's a lot of opportunity there to have a relationship. The worst thing you can do is not ask your agent. And if you ask them and it makes them mad, then you need to find a different agent.
Well, and so Teresa, then real quick before I go back to the audience, one thing I wanted to talk about was networking. I always tell filmmakers, go to film festivals. You go to film festivals, where do you think the filmmakers are hanging out? They're hanging out at film festivals. That's where you meet the directors, the producers, the writers. And some actors will say, well, I'll go to the festival when I have a film in the festival. I'm like, why?
No.
Why would you wait to go, and even, big festivals, Cannes Film Festival I go to, there are random actors all over the place just meeting people. And so we've got Oak Cliff Film Festival, right here at the Texas Theater coming up in June. You've got Dallas. There are so many film festivals in Dallas. Can you talk a little bit about networking for your actors and what you recommend them to do?
Yeah, definitely. We spoke earlier about professional organizations. Two here that we're a member of are Dallas Producers Association and Women in Film Dallas, which I think you guys probably are as well. So, I mean, here's the thing. Many of these organizations put out, these events or workshops or whatever it is that are open to the public, whether or not you're a member. And we've sometimes done stuff with the agency, whether or not you're with Core Talent, doesn't matter. But getting out there is so critical. And I mean, I have got some fantastic stories of the most random interactions just because I said, yes, I'll go see what it's all about for an hour. Sure. I try to make myself be a yes person, even if I was like, okay, I'm tired. Yeah, let me go. Let me just go. And, well, like in December, everybody's do the holiday parties. So I went to one of the organization's holiday parties and I thought, let me stop by. Ended up reconnecting with somebody who I knew from years past, who was an actor at the time, who now has their own ad agency, who invited me to come out to the ad agency thing. So I did that after a couple of days. And then at that ad agency event, reconnected with a director who I'd never met in person, who all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, yes, you booked our talent, and I've known each other for years and years electronically, ended leading up to this other event. It kind of like snowballed and circled. And through a series of interactions, it created all of these relationships that have resulted in jobs, for people calling me, hey, so-and-so recommended you have a person that looks like this and we're doing this project or whatnot. And, they met you at this thing. It's like, and the same can be said for actors, but just the in-person stuff, guys, is so important. It's so important. So, post-pandemic and post-strikes and everything else now, I mean, just get out there, go to all the things, and you just never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah, lots of things. And like was said earlier, you can volunteer at these festivals too. You can't afford to buy a pass to go to every single festival. Volunteer. Every festival wants volunteers. So we're going to do two more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. Right here.
Can we go back to the voice acting? And I know you had clarified for the demos for acting that you would want a 1-minute comedy, 1-minute drama. Is there something specific you want in voice acting demo?
Well, going back real quick to the other one, if you have enough, you should have a 1-minute comedy, 1-minute drama. If you don't have enough, you just need to put your best of everything together into sort of a generic composite one. And then as you get more work, then you break out into those categories. As far as voiceover goes, you've got to have a demo. It's better if it's professionally produced. If you have a good setup at home, that's fine, but just keep in mind you're competing with a lot of people who have home studios now. Almost all of the voiceover work is now done from home studios. So you've got to have a pretty good rig, pretty good sound. We are looking for variety in voiceover. You can do all kinds of things. So it should not just be limited to one thing. However, the primary demo most people start with is a commercial demo. And the trick is, you don't want to put a Coke ad on there and we know it's not a Coke ad. You just have to be careful about plagiarism. And a lot of voice classes right now, we've heard demo people are ripping off copy and they're getting in trouble for it. And then the demos aren't usable.
So write your own fake commercial.
Where a great place is to go to the web. Go to
ChatGPT. Write me a commercial, ChatGPT.
It'll probably be as good as anything. Go to the websites, the corporate websites, see what they've got on there. Go to the web, go to Facebook, look at ads. Listen to ads, listen to the radio, listen to the trends, listen to the voices right now and what they're looking for. And then you'll get into other areas. Most established voice people have multiple demos. They have a narration, corporate, long form, anime, character, medical, technical.
So I've got a question, like for an anime demo, would somebody, for example, take like a clip from an anime show, just edit the voice out and put their own voice in?
And it's real tricky too. They've tried that. It's a little tricky because of licensing.
Sure.
You have to be really careful.
Well, if it's just a demo.
If it's just a demo, well, we get a lot of times when we do that, they'll call us and say, take it down.
Oh, really?
And we're like, oh, okay. So you have to be kind of careful what you copy. You kind of have to mimic it. Sometimes you can use the soundtrack, sometimes you can use the visual, but it's tricky. And anime is really tough because it's pretty lost without its visuals.
Right.
You know, almost everything we do with anime, we've got the video with it.
Yeah. That would be difficult to just listen to the sound in anime and be like, what is
It'd be
happening
really,
right
well,
now?
it'd be really weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Really strange. Yeah.
Great. All right. We'll do one more question. Let's see if there's anybody we haven't talked to yet. Way in the top in the back.
Going back up to how you guys are talking about asking for talent reports, how often or how ideal would you want your actors to reach out to you and talk with you?
I always say actors should talk to us whenever they need us. As far as asking for reports, I would think quarterly.
Yeah, well,
you don't want to go every time you ask, have you submitted me? Have you submitted me? Have you submitted me? That's not going to go
Are we there
well.
yet? Are we there yet?
Because the deal is, we are submitting you. Like Teresa said, we are already doing that. We're doing so much behind the scenes, but some people think actors can become pests to agents. I've never seen it that way. I'm like, it's an open door. We're there. Whenever we interview actors and they go, oh, I'm afraid to talk to my existing agent. I'm like, well, something's wrong there. You should, first thing you should do is talk to your existing agent because there's a miscommunication there somewhere. So take advantage of the things that Linda was talking about, but don't go crazy with it. Don't say, how many jobs did you submit me on this week? We don't have time because we're busy submitting.
Yeah. Well, so I have one quick final question. Like, how many actors do each of you represent? Can you say? Are you allowed to say?
I represent 144.
144.
I think right now we're at 152.
150. It's not a competition.
No.
156.
144 and a half.
And also, you do kids and stuff, right?
Yes, we will take children through, I mean, any age. Well, 5, 6 usually is the youngest.
Okay.
Oh, we didn't even get to talk about stage parents tonight.
Oh God, you want me to?
Oh,
You want me to talk about that? How about this?
Do we have 5 minutes to talk about stage parents?
Yes.
Okay. Well, how many clients do you represent? And then we'll talk about stage parents.
Oh, I have a lot. Mine is about 430 because
Wow.
I have an office here in Texas, one in LA, and I have a presence in New York. So it adds up. But you look on IMDb and it's like, oh my gosh, it sounds like I have 400 and something in Texas. No, that's not true at all. And it does incorporate commercial-only actors, some that do everything, some that only do film and TV, some voiceover, some only commercial print, hosting. Not everybody in our agency does everything. That's kind of, it's almost impossible to find those golden people that just have that much versatility. But
Do you have models just for print as well? Do you guys do just
Commercial print.
commercial print?
commercial print, yeah, the real people.
Right. Yeah.
Consumer print.
Yeah,
Yes.
not Barbie and Ken. Even though I love Ryan and Margot.
All right. So we'll finish up talking about stage parents because it's always a fun conversation. So you have child actors as well.
I'm eking out of that because of
So Teresa's the
stage
only
parents.
one left with.
yes, Teresa, go.
So what's it like? When you have a parent? I have the most precocious, gorgeous 5-year-old in the world, and they have to be an actor because I never was, and
That's it. That is exactly.
and my child must be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. If you ask, why do you think this would be a good industry for your child? And if their first response is because it's going to pay for college, before they're out of elementary school, I'm like, what are the reasons they're in it? If their response is like, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing, but my kid just wants to do this. They're just passionate about it. They just love this. I'm trying to get more information to help support my child's interest. That's the right start. I did, however, start requiring minors in that personality kind of slate submission for representation. So all minors have to also submit a parent video as well.
Oh.
So the parent has to get on tape and say, "Hi, I'm Susie's dad, and I'm here to support, and that gives me an idea of who I will actually be working with,
Right.
because the child might be on set, but the parent is the business partner. And if things are not clicking in that department, then it's a no-go, no matter how beautiful or talented the child is.
Okay. Well, that was pretty easy. We don't need to go into too much more about child acquisition, I suppose. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. Any wrap-ups? Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes. Texas Motion Picture Alliance.
Commercial.
All right. One of the, I'm on the board of the Texas Media Production Alliance. One of the best things you can do in your career and in this industry is join txmpa.org. We're an advocate for the entire industry. We're the reason we now have $200 million in incentive funding.
Yeah.
I am so proud of that. Thank you. Well, that and Taylor shared, but yeah.
Yeah. I was going to
I
say.
can't take all the credit. He kind of put on his hat, and he walked in there, hat in hand, and sold the legislators. But TXMPA is absolutely done an incredible job these past almost 18 years. But without actors doing the business part of your show, Texas will not succeed. So you've got to go to txmpa.org. Please, please, please join us. The reason our money goes to hiring 2 exec directors and communication directors, and I think we've got 2 other hired people on there. They actually their job is to stay in touch with the legislators, stay in touch with the lobby group, stay in touch with the industry as a whole. Our job is to educate the industry, educate the legislators, I mean, we're out there to make the masses know how valuable the film industry, commercial industry, this industry is to this. We're now under, through our Texas Incentive Program and Texas Film Commission and all the film commissions, we're now under the economic impact umbrella along with tourism. So we're considered a valid industry. A lot of people thought Hollywood was flying everything in. A lot of legislators don't know, they don't even know they have people in this industry in their district. Please find out who your legislator is, your state legislator. You have a senator and a representative, and they are working for you, but they were shocked. They want to hear from TXMPA. They know all about us, but they want to also hear from you because so many of them have said, oh, I don't have anybody in the film industry in my district. I can guarantee you every legislator in Texas has someone in the film industry. So please, please join. And thank you.
Well, and I think it's important to note, you talk about the $200 million. The $200 million was for 2 years. And then we're going to get to the end of that 2 years pretty quickly with strikes eating up most of it. I think Taylor Sheridan's going to do his best to use all $200 million.
I think he is.
That's not going to go to waste. But then the state has to vote to refill that bucket again.
Every 2 years.
So if they don't think that it was used properly, it might go down to 50 or 45 or whatever. So you want it to stay 200 and go higher, so continue to bring more production.
You want it to build on itself.
And continue to build. Because it needs to be a 5-year, a 10-year in order for Texas to have the industry that like a Georgia has, or even, I say it all the time, it's like, for God's sake, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
I know, right?
Better than in Dallas in the industry. I think we can beat that.
You would think.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank all of our guests here very much. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.